to the Voice of the People, your favorite debate, current affairs, analysis show that takes place every Wednesday right here on the Voice Facebook page. And we are the Voice of the People. How you doing, Mr. Fangs?
I'm good, Chief. Yourself?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, so today, Mr. Fangs, gonna every week re nna re tla ka issue hele e leng gore e topical batho ba bua ka yone mo di Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's been quite a hectic week actually in terms of things on the Facebooks. You know, there's a lot going on in the courts.
Yes.
You know, but today we are talking about something that could actually involve the courts. We're talking about DNA, paternity. Yeah, we saw this week one of the chiefs, I think it was Khosi Musielele, put in a motion that should compulsory DNA testing be introduced at birth.
And the truth will set you free. So I think it is an interesting issue. Why do you think that they that he proposed this topic though?
Well, you know, I also believe honesty is good, like you, but I also think that I don't know why people would choose to be dishonest. You know, I think we mustn't just assume dishonest. So look, I don't know, this motion he feels like it could stop this rampant DNA testing and things like that. So maybe this is like a big social issue.
I imagine so. I imagine that it's about, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. You know, and also sometimes maintenance. So I imagine that these are the sort of issues that this proposal is designed to try and combat.
Yes.
But let's hear.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments. We put this out as a comment to you, the people, so you can engage with us as we usually do before the show happens. So let's hear what some of your comments are saying. There's a comment here coming from Mpokarab. No. That's it. We're coming from Edison Didier Goliath Senior. Yes, please, let it be compulsory. There's a lot of cheating in this 21st century. So yeah, and then he feels like but I also feel like this is slightly disrespectful towards women because you are presuming that they would lie about these kinds of things on the regular.
I'm waiting for that one woman who will comment here saying we should channel our energy into more serious crimes.
That looks like a woman. But, yeah.
Corey, the point she's intimating here is that there's nothing more serious than this. This is an important thing, and we should be devoting resources to make sure.
Okay, there's another comment coming here from Sebeso Rosinto Ari. Yes, it has to be compulsory. And it will definitely not hesitate to sign that petition. That'll bring a lot of implications, yes, but then the truth will free some. I just imagine men queuing for blood samples for one child, for one woman. Heba. Or he's relating the story. Then Joseph Mpoto queuing for few. So basically what he's saying is like, you know, clearly this happens a lot when there's many different guys claiming to be the father to this one child.
I mean, you know, just personally, I have people within my friendship circles who've been in situations like this. After for about 4 years, about maybe something more like a test. After 4 years,
Right. But that's an interesting one, and I'll talk about this later. Thanks. But then, don't you think that there's a difference between fatherhood and the biological origin of an individual?
A positive paternity test does not make one a father. I applaud all the men who are raising or who raise children that are not biologically related to them, whether or not they are aware. But I believe that paternity tests should be made accessible to anyone who wishes to do one.
And again, a point there. You can force somebody, well, not force, but you can try these measures. If the person doesn't want that responsibility, they can still abscond. So if somebody has raised the child for 4 years, they are more of a father to that child than where the DNA sample came from. Don't you believe?
Hey, no, I agree. I agree that to be a father, you don't have to donate genetic material. However, that should be your choice. It should be you choosing to be a stepfather.
Okay, there's another comment here from Unconditionally Rally. It's long overdue. On top of that, the fingerprints should also be taken at birth. This will also help in tracing new criminals. Unconditionally, the fingerprint. But where do we draw the line? Now these will be kept in some database.
We already have your fingerprints, you know, that's nothing new.
Yeah, but now I feel like this is taking it a step too far, man. You know, another comment from Pearl So Shy, it should be forced, and babies born out of wedlock should use their father's surname.
Hey, well,
Okay.
that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. Decision, but it should just be clear who the father is. Even there's someone who agrees with you here, Chief. Rachel Lesedinyana Morapedi. It should not be compulsory. It will just be a waste of resources. Mpokeno.
Hey.
Rather let it be done upon request with no cost. Go tshwana le ha go katwe Batswana botlhe re ye go itlhatlhoba for COVID. Mere se di contact rotlhe. Actually,
You see?
yeah, but actually, best practice is we should have all been tested for COVID. And in fact, if we haven't all been tested, then that's negligence on the government's part. You know what I mean? That's how you know how severe the problem is.
Yeah, there's an issue of rights now. My right, you're busy forcing me to get all these tests. What if I don't want to? And just like in the COVID case, you're not forced to take an injection or a test.
Yeah, you're not, because unfortunately we don't have the resources to test everybody. But if we do, we should.
Okay, here's a comment coming from Lorato Mo Laudi. It should be not only to expose women, though also to stiffen measure against runaway fathers. Truth is, don't believe the issue of men being lied to about paternity is rampant as the one of runaway fathers. So let's pass this law and get paternity issue out of the way and get rid of excuses that unresponsible men hide behind. And is this issue of men being lied to as rampant as the one of runaway fathers? And how does paternity solve that? Because his DNA.
I think ha ke tlhaloganya ka teng dikgang di pedi go loga go na le kgang ya gore rangwana ke mang, and go na le kgang ya gore a rangwana o support-a ngwana wa bona. And now go nna dingalo gore o prove gore rangwana o tshwanetse go support-a ngwana if you don't even know gore ke rangwana wa bona. And Khalelo Samuel Arialo, if it will stop men from running away from their responsibilities, then yes, it should be compulsory. Hey.
Okay, there's some comments that are coming in live, because we shoot this show live. So we're going to try and read some of these comments before we go to our ad break in about 3 minutes. There's a comment here from Ricardo Sika Maraeza Dimeku. Nagar ahudire. There's this trend these days where women decide, hashtag decide, after birth, and that's one of the things that fuel violence. Yeah, again, there's this presumption and a little bit of disrespect that women just go around concealing.
I don't know what a woman says right here. Katleho cat are ahodire e basadi retriki.
I mean, if a woman are in but tricky.
Hey, what? And I believe what the vast majority of women are very honest about who the fathers of their children are. However, You know, like Kanye West said, 18 years, and after 18, you find out it wasn't his? You don't want to be that guy, bro.
Hey, but I mean, again, back to the issue of fatherhood versus biological donor. Because after 18 years, you've built this relationship. Your biological donor, it's something tangible. You're originally from this guy. But fatherhood, who intangible. So if after 18 years, then you were never really wanted to be a father in the first place.
Hey, that's true. But some people don't want to be fathers, and they step up to the responsibility because that's my child. Yeah, no. After I tell oh, that wasn't even my child. I could have taken that job in Australia, but I stayed for somebody else's child.
I'm not really excuse here, Mr. Fangs. We'll just read a couple of more comments before we go on to this ad break. Tuli Mangaliso Ufi Klile Are. We support the motion, and you know hore hatingwana yona ling madi nowadays. I don't know, man. It seems like the same theme keeps coming across here.
I think a lot of people have been burnt.
And I think it's a lot of guys. You know, but look, my question here is, Tata, what does paternity testing actually solve? Because what people are talking about here is, you know, this woman going to conceal the identity. But it sounds like a fatherhood, and I found out he's not mine. So paternity on it, does it stop that?
I think it does, because once again, a lot of people, and this is something it's been happening. A lot of people's marriages, for example, and families get started when, oh, you're pregnant. Okay, then you know what? Let me do the right thing. So you know what? I wasn't considering marrying you, but now I'm going to, and let's see if we can build a family around this child. A lot of people make that decision. So, but they mustn't be making that decision based on lies.
Okay. Here's one actually who is your same context. Definitely yes. I have one which I was denied for 9 years till I do DNA, which proved to be my daughter.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you see. So this is a real life example. Mr. Muruti for 9 years. My question is, I'm wondering why it took him 9 years to get the test. Like,
I get it right now. How compulsory? So mama no kono go gan
for 9 years.
Hey, I can't listen.
Okay.
But aruto hore what's it? When we are married and you ask for that, you don't trust me. So when it's in Molingalong, osan trusted then.
You see? And now that's my whole thing is like, and that's why I say this thing is disrespectful to women, because you are presuming or she knows that you're not the father of this child. And now she's going to just deceive you. You know, and it's like, why would you get into this thing with that notion? Into this thing, what's not trust you?
I mean, maybe Meo would something to make this man not trust them, to make them doubt them. So maybe trust it. And yeah, he doesn't trust you. Maybe you're lucky you found out you're married to somebody that doesn't trust you.
Yeah, one of the comments actually talked about it's better for about the 9 years. But yeah, man, that brings the end to the first half of the show. We are going to take a quick ad break to pay homage to our wonderful partners out at Le Africa and Legends Barbershop, the legendary barbershop.
From the moment we wake up, we step into the shoes that are ready to conquer the day. Places to go, people to see, but there's no stopping this beauty. So let go and be free to celebrate your confidence. Take control of your day with Legends legendary wave products to keep your wave sensational this season. Apply wave control evenly over the waves to keep your hair soft, smooth, with a gentle shine to give you the confidence you need to change the world. Live your legacy in style. Ease into the smooth wave of the day and become unstoppable. Be legendary with Legends Barbershop, living your legacy in style.
Welcome back to the Voice of the People. I hope you enjoyed that ad break and hope you found out where to get yourself some lovely hand sanitizer from our partners over at Le Africa and get yourself a fresh haircut at the legendary barbershop over at Hillside Mall. Now back to today's discussion. We're talking about paternity testing. This issue came up recently this week in a discussion. So we thought we would find out what the people think of this motion, and they've given us their views, Mr. Fangs.
Yes, right.
Now, from what I'm getting from the people, banna ka bantsi ga ba trust basadi ba bone. Wena Fangs o bona yang Kanye, maybe give us your take on this issue.
Okay, so nakaki libileng ka thing, right? This issue is about increasing clarity around children's welfare, because right now, and I don't think I don't think that this is the majority of cases. I believe that most couples know once they conceive a child, they know what no or so on, right? They know this. However, there are enough occasions, enough situations where men are not sure if that's really their child. And that's because you don't necessarily have sexual relations with somebody that you're in a relationship with. People often have numerous sexual partners or might sleep with numerous people within a month. And that applies to men and women, right? So it's not a sexist thing, but unfortunately only women get pregnant, right? So without using a condom, right? And then be able to determine this is the person who got me pregnant. That's number one. But even sometimes they may not know because they have numerous sexual partners, right? So in that case, it's so important to create clarity around her, for her and for whoever the father is, so that they can both be held accountable. There are already laws that make it clear what men have to provide child support. If a father does not provide support for their child, you can take them to task, you can take them to court. Now, we don't want and then we don't know if that's true or not. And now we have to go sort that out first before we start dealing with the issue of the child's welfare. Meanwhile, that's the first thing. The second thing is medical history, right? If this child does not know who their biological father is, there are many diseases that are transmitted biologically. So one day they're 18 years old and they don't know whether or not diabetes is common in their family. They don't know whether we've got a history of heart failure, right? All of those things which make it a lot more difficult for that person, for that child to get medical care. So this is all about looking after the welfare of this child. The final point, look, we just don't want, ideally here, we don't want any confusion around who a child's parents are. It is a very difficult situation it is a very painful situation to find out later on. And you've already grown to love this child, and the basis of you starting this relationship with this child is because you were told that that is your biological child. I think that fathers, men, need to be given the right to choose how they want to act. They need to be given, you want to be a stepfather, you need to make that it needs to be an informed choice that you are making. I want to end quickly on an anecdote, right? There's a friend of ours, a mutual acquaintance of ours, Chief, who I remember running into him years ago, right? And he was on his way to Johannesburg that weekend. He goes every 2 weeks, he goes to check his child, right? And I remember him telling me, I don't like my child's mother. I don't like her at all. We don't get along. Good. We've never gotten along, not since that 2 months that we were dating. But now I have to be in her life every week because I'm interested in my child's welfare. Imagine now if he finds out that that's not his biological child. So for the past 10 years, he's been dealing with somebody that he doesn't want to deal with. He's been traveling to another country. He's been spending money on something that he thought he had to do because that's his biological responsibility. Right? That's not fair. We need to be fair to people.
Yo, hey, Mr. Fangs. You know, there's a lot that you said that I want to unpack. You know, but the first thing is this issue of having unprotected sex with many people to the extent that you even forget or get confused who your child's father is. First of all, I think that's very irresponsible behavior, right? Like, I think that one should never be a basis for us to try and do these type of things, right? But more importantly, look, you shouldn't be engaged in these type of relations with people you don't trust, right?
Yeah.
So that when these things happen, and I'll get to this point, how it erodes trust. Because now imagine a situation where now you are with your woman, like it's already just you and her. And then when I think they are no simula morario, gana nagawata before manoa tsurao, kizuhore paternity hamang. Ibile, I'm not buying any nappies until I know whether this is really my child, It erodes the trust within the relationship. And the reason why I say it's disrespectful towards women is because there's this huge presumption of buferiferi on the woman's side. The fact that she's now going to conceal who the biological parent is, right? Because you can't have this instance happening towards a man. It can only be in the instance where a woman is the one who you guys claim or she's denying you the true identity of who the father is, right? I don't think that's in the child's best interests at that point. Because what's in the child's best interest is whether or not they're taken care of, whether or not they're loved, and all of these things. So everything you mentioned in your example about this guy who's going to across the border for 10 years, right? It's in that child's best interest to receive love from a father figure and a mother figure. So what that guy has been providing is in that child's best interests. All a paternity test does, it doesn't determine fatherhood and your ability to provide being a father. All it determines is your biological origin. This sample, it's a komuningo. And I think that that issue of knowledge, it can always be found out. Like, even if right now there's an issue between you and your woman about your child, you can always go and get a paternity test, right? But now, the moment you want to enforce it onto people, you're assuming that there's something that is there to hide, right? So I think that's just the first point of call. We shouldn't start there, right? Look, and more importantly, and I think this is one of the biggest things, if a man wants to run away from the responsibilities of raising a child, it doesn't matter what paternity test he takes or there's so many instances. People just disappear overnight. So, I think that this issue of getting the paternity test, look, the problem of absent fathers and all of this and people wanting to determine the true identity of their children, it's a correct problem. But the paternity test doesn't solve that, because even if people didn't want to be in that union, like you say, and your friend who's going to see this woman, if he truly didn't want to, he can just say, no, I'm done with this, and then walk away, which happens a lot of the time, right? Lastly, look, I think we need to protect, I think there's a human rights issue here in terms of your bodily autonomy. as an individual, you can't just take my blood sample, and then decide who you're gonna test for what you want. Fingerprints, I understand, fine, the state needs it for your omang or whatever, right? But now, if I feel like I don't want to give up a piece of my DNA, because it's my DNA at the end of the day, I should have the right to say no, and nobody should be able to force me. Even court-mandated paternity tests are extremely rare because the court recognizes your right to bodily autonomy. When the court does recognize that, it's when they have to show that not having this paternity test will prove harm. And I'm arguing today that the harms that come from having the paternity tests are far greater than not having it, because a child can still receive fatherhood without necessarily knowing where that DNA came from. Mr. Fangs.
You know, ke batla go responda ka comment ya ga Ricardo Sikamaraiza. Are botshelo bothata to be struggling with something you didn't help to go thata. If anything, do it go tswa mo go wena. I'm not sure what the end there means, but that's essentially it. That like kind of this is all about the basis of your paternal rights, your responsibility as a father starts from you donating your genetic material to that child, right? So the minute you didn't donate the genetic material to that child, it's not your responsibility. It becomes your choice. At the same time, now the problem yamaka ke gore if I'm told gore ngwana ke wa ka e se boammaruri, and then I start being a father, showering them with love, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm taking the opportunity from that child's biological father to be a father to their child. And they have a greater right to it.
Look, Fangs, what if that another biological parent, he clearly didn't want that responsibility?
How do you know if he doesn't even know that he has a child?
You know how I know? Because he had unprotected sex with this woman. And he couldn't give a damn what happened after that. That's how I know he didn't care.
I mean, so what? So every time somebody has unprotected sex, Chief, then they must now be in the life of that person they had sex with.
That's go on things. Go on the burden that I'm trying to push is that we mustn't do them lightly.
You realize we live in a country that has had one of the highest AIDS rates in the world for our entire lives, Chief. So for us to pretend that people don't have unprotected sex willy-nilly is just absurd.
Look, just because they do it, Fangs, doesn't mean it's right, okay? Yeah, it happens, but my point is that let's stop it from happening. I don't discourage, but look, we've got just a few more minutes for the show, so let's read the comments that came in live, because there's a lot of comments. We encourage you to send in your comments. We'll try and get through to all of them, but just keep sending them in, right? Msemula Bait, I support the motion because ladies abuse men emotionally, confusing men kaholela le these leads to single parent. Again, all I'm getting, I don't know where this is coming from.
Let's hear a comment from a lady, Antoinette Doyle. Imagine in a medical emergency, a child needs a certain type of blood transfusion only to discover the father cannot save their child because he is not the biological father. Also, it's for the child's welfare in future life. Everyone has a right to know both their biological parents.
Okay. Yeah, let's hear from CJ Trigger. I highly agree. I mean, some of our friends don't know their parents because their mother wasn't even sure who the father was at the time. These paternity tests would help a lot of people from now. Yeah, look, it's the same argument, right? Who raised you? You know, like, isn't that your father? I know who your mother didn't know. Again, give disrespect. Messrs. Dominus Are Kingwana Arekana ki motho. How do you end a relationship suddenly because you discovered that it's not your biological child? In the form of a human. That's my point, thanks. That is my point. Thank you, Messrs. Dominus. You can't just decide, no, this person is not my biological child after 18 years.
What about, yeah, okay, Ramasedi will talk to like me about my rights because why is it my responsibility to raise somebody else's child? I don't understand that. Solofelo Kiniso Okane Are. I don't have a problem with this. Now, I was told many times that kana go ngwana yo ga se wa me. I even told motho gore tsa madi ke ya go dira DNA test ke ya are teng. Wa bona bo papa ba bangwe ijo ke kharatla ke le nosi ka ngwana. Wa bona. So this is my you see, so this is my whole point is, you see this woman and a problem are you calling me a liar, are you whatever? She's saying no, yeah, I'm telling you the truth. So let's go and test. And no go talk my idea how to test this. I'm saying the government should do this for everyone for free.
But another side to what she's talking about is that the guy keeps probing her to get a DNA test.
But because it hasn't been done.
But now, imagine now there's a whole government stance that says, listen, women are dodgy. As men, go request DNA tests. Doesn't that now create more situations like this?
I mean, that's
more guys are just going to be like, hey, I'm a B. I'll
give you an example, an analogy here, right? It's the same thing as asking your partner to go and take an HIV/AIDS test, right? It doesn't mean that you don't trust them, but you'd rather have the facts than not have the facts. You know what I mean? No, how can I test you then now you don't trust me? No, if you find out I gave you AIDS like 10 years later, so what? We're in love. It's absurd.
Okay, just a couple more comments and you give us your final thought, Fags. And I don't understand what this guy is saying. If you're saying somebody is the father, you must be ready to prove it, period. I suppose this guy, but look, man, now what I'm saying to you is there's a difference between fatherhood in an intangible, loving sense and your biological makeup. Those two things we need to establish the different the blend, Mr. Fangs. The last comment here coming from Daphne Hunzi Ari. That I support the motion. Hey, la tusa bontla ngwana ha tshwanele Linna motho tshaba support. Oh, okay, ar motho nna ntsa ar ngwana ha tshwanele nna tshaba support. Go tla fela re tla thusiwa go tang ke motsamaisa tiro. Yeah, well, again, you're gonna get more cases of this where guys are probing.
Yes, and they should. And that's I think my final thought is that somebody wise once told me what a tapo there is no better hustle than you can have than the truth. There is nothing more freeing than the truth. So, we should all be taking a policy out. Let's get as much of the truth out there as possible. So now that's why I get because it pushes the out of the window. There's no hey no whatever. No, this is your child. Science says it is. You go and disprove science.
Yeah, I hear you, Mr. Fangs. Now, my final thought on this issue is that everything is a choice. All comes down to choice, right? Being a father is a choice. Having unprotected sex is a choice, right? So even if it turns out that biologically this is my child, it's still my choice whether I stick to that responsibility. So all of these measures, they could still not help because I'm not raising these kids. He's just going to disappear and start a family, go states or whatever, right? And lastly, just this idea that we need to realize that there's a difference between fatherhood and your paternity, because a lot of people, like even adoptive children, are raised by people who are not biologically their parents. Granted, the medical emergency here and there, but I believe that the idea of being loved as a child, receiving love from a father figure and a mother figure, is the most important thing in the development of a child. That's just what I believe. And that's how we bring an end to our show this week. So this is the place. Join us every Wednesday at the Voice page around lunchtime. That's where you will get the debate. So check out the pages of our partners over at Le Africa. They have all sorts of natural products. They provide us with hand sanitizers here for the studio. Like their page on Facebook. Check out the page of the legendary barbershop, Legends Barbershop. A quick story about legends, man. Last week I went to get my hair cut there, after the drummer boy's passing, and the whole day they were just playing drummer boy music. So go to ambient, and they're like very down to earth people, man. So check them out.
Great environment.
Yeah, if you tell them you heard from us, they might give you a discount. I don't know, but that's up to you.
Your luck.
Yeah. So from myself, Mr. Chief, and Mr. Fangs, the voice of the people. See you again next week. Goodbye.
I swear to you, I know feet explain. The things you do, they drive me insane. Girl, I swear to you, I'm not lazy. See, oh girl, I need you tonight. Hey, oh girl, I want you for life. Oh girl, I need you tonight. Oh girl, I need you for life.
We know what you're looking for.
Your specially grilled newspaper, spiced with lifestyle, sport, entertainment, politics, business, and international news. The Voice is available every Friday. Subscribe now. The Voice.